on in the room. Bucks lose it tonight, 112-108 to the Houston Rockets. Come on in the room. Adrian is our doctor. He writes out all our scriptures. He gives us all of our medicine in our room. Come on in the room. Bucks lose it, 112-108 to the Houston Rockets. We are live at the Cream City Crossovers Milwaukee Bucks post-game show. The Guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
There we go. We in the building doing what we do. Tonight, again, a lot of people upset, obviously. I get the frustration and where people are going to go with this. And the Bucks drop one to a Houston Rockets team. Houston Rockets, they're not a bad basketball team at all. But again, it's not the outlook you want to see, especially after you drop two to Indiana. I think, what does that make the Bucks now? 1-3 in the new year in 2024. Let's do a game recap, game reset, and just get everything back in order. You can, of course, at me. A lot of comments already coming in at TCIIIESQ. And you can also get your comments in on the YouTube as well. We'll read them all. Tonight, Giannis Antetokounmpo was absolutely phenomenal. He did everything and more that you could ask for a superstar, for a leader of a basketball team. 48-17 on 64% shooting. He was 1 for 2 for 3. He's been the best 3-point shooter last couple of nights for the Milwaukee Bucks. Shooting the ball better than Damian Lillard. 15-21 from the line. That's 71%. And again, it's 6 missed free throws. So I know we'll talk about how many free throws the Bucks missed tonight, JT, in a 4-point loss. But if Giannis is giving me 15 for 21, 70%, I've told you I think 75% is really where I want him to be at. If he gives me 71%, I'll take it. What I can't get is if I get 71% from Giannis and I get 70% from Damian Lillard, and I get 66% from Chris Middleton, and I get 50% from Bobby Portis and 50% campaign. That's what I have an issue with outside of Giannis doing what he did tonight. He only had 2 turnovers. Again, flawless night from Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't want to hear anything else. There's so many Damian Lillard fans, so many Portland Trailblazer fans who are Dame Lillard fans, not really Bucks fans. They just don't got it. No. I don't want to hear it. Giannis ain't the problem. I don't want to hear anybody. I'm done hearing this stuff about Giannis being the problem with this basketball team, that he ain't sharing the ball, that he ain't doing this, he ain't doing that. 48-17. Giannis is doing his part. Everybody else got to buckle up, strap in, and get themselves ready to go. So Giannis 48-17. Chris Middleton 10, 3 and 5. He's 3 for 9. Not his best night. Obviously 0 for 5 from 3. Not his best night. But Chris, again, 32 minutes, about 33 minutes tonight. So I can slightly give him a slight pass. I didn't think he was a net negative, especially on the defensive end tonight. But 10 points for Chris Middleton. Brook Lopez, 7 points, 5 boards. Did have 1 block. Beasley was benched in the second half. Only 16 minutes for Malik Beasley here. He had 3 points. Damian Lillard with 18 and 8 assists. But he shot 5 of 6. I mean, this is a tour date. Is it May the 16th? Because that's what he shot. 5 for 16, 31%, JT. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know what? You know what today is? January the 6th, right? Well, for 3, he's already ready for the next couple days because he was 1 for 8 from the 3-point line. And it's just despicable. Bobby Portis, 6 points, 6 boards. Not good enough. Terrible on defense. Marjon Beauchamp, 5 points, 4 boards, 3 assists. I thought Marjon Beauchamp played well. 22 minutes for him. Pat Connaughton was better than a lot of guys. He wasn't good, but he was better than some guys tonight. Campaign walked off the floor. I'm not sure what went on with him. And Andre Jackson Jr. didn't put up much in the scoring column, but really gave that team a jolt defensively in his 12 minutes. On the other side for Houston, Jabari Smith Jr. 14 and 12. Sengun was the problem, 21 and 11. Jalen Green 16 and 4. Fred VanVleet didn't play all that well. He was 14 and 7, but they just did enough. And then, of course, probably your X factor tonight was Jeff Green throwing up 16 points. And maybe Aaron Holiday as well with his 11. But in any event, it was 112-108. The Houston Rockets beat the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. I guess I'll start with, my initial thoughts before we turn this over to you, JT. You let me know kind of how you felt about what you saw. But again, this is a tale of 2 halves, and I'll be short, but I'll leave it at this. It was a tale of 2 halves. On the defensive side of the ball, the Bucks just they weren't good. Looked really, I mean, I don't even say they weren't good, but they just were aloof in the first and the second quarter. Gave up 29 points in the first quarter, 34 in the second. Now, honestly, if you're not giving up 30 points in a quarter, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, that's usually a good sign. And so in the first quarter, you gave up 29, but you only scored 18. And then you only scored 25. It's an abomination if this basketball team isn't putting up 30 points every quarter. And in the third, they put up 30. In the fourth, they put up 35. Okay, so the Milwaukee Bucks outscored the Houston Rockets 35. What's 26 plus 23? That's my quick math.
49.
49. So the Milwaukee Bucks outscored the Houston Rockets 65-49 in the second half. I don't know if they didn't wake up until the second half began, or what the deal was, but the defense was much better. You only give up 49 points in the second half, which is great. Maybe, again, we talked about, do you have to move Beasley off of your starting lineup? Well, in phase one of seeing that, the Bucks were much better defensively with Malik Beasley on the bench and less Pat Connaughton, and it was more Marjan, and it was more Andre Jackson Jr. That's what the difference was tonight in the second half versus the first half. Adrian Griffin made that decision. Is that going to be a trend, or was that a one-time thing for Dr. Griffin? We'll see that. But again, it was a tale of two halves. In the first half, the Bucks were not good offensively or defensively. In the second half, they were very good offensively, very good defensively. And, I mean, again, you can point to a couple of different things here. I'll point to the free throw line where the Bucks were 29 of 42. What's that, 13 missed free throws in a 4-point game? That's a problem. And then the other point you can look at, of course, you're 26% from three, which I think that is more of an anomaly than anything. So I can kind of be okay with the 26% from three, only making 9 threes. But the other issue is, listen, we could talk about Dr. Griffin. We could talk about the defense. But again, I say this too, if the defense only gives up 112 points, you should win the game. Based upon the Milwaukee Bucks defense that we've seen thus far, if you hold a team to 112 points, there's no reason why you don't win that basketball game. But the main guy I'm looking at is number 0. Damian Lillard. I mean, did you see the last shot? I don't know what the Bucks down 6 or 5 or whatever it was. Oh wow, the coach just lost on that pass right there. But Damian Lillard is, gets the ball right, and I mean it's a clear drawn up play for him. Ball goes to him, and he shoots it off the side of the backboard. I mean, what happened to tapping it? Can you even do that anymore? Can you realistically, right now, with what you've seen over the last couple weeks, you can't do that. So I'm placing, again, if you want any place to blame, I think you may have been able to do 50-50 early on in the game. When you lose a 4-point game, and your supposedly best offensive player, it's clear now, he's the second best offensive player in the Milwaukee Bucks. It's very clear. But when your supposedly guy that comes in, your superstar player that you bring in, comes in, that you traded Drew Holiday for, comes in and goes 5 of 16 and 1 for 8. Dog, I needed 2. You didn't have to shoot 50% from 3. 3 for 8, the Bucks win this game. 7 for 16, the Bucks win this game. Whatever you want to do. Hell, don't even go. Go 2 for 8 from 3 and hit 2 more free throws. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about for a night. I don't mind Giannis shooting 71%. He's a 70% free throw shooter. I don't mind. It's like asking, if a kid can't swim, I'm not going to ask the kid, I'm not going to throw the kid in the water and be upset that he couldn't swim. So if Giannis doesn't shoot 100% from free throw line, it's fine. Dame is a 90% free throw shooter. You ain't got no reason shooting 70% from the free throw line. I'm rambling here, JT. I'll let you get in on this. But to me, the biggest loser tonight, and again, it's not a referendum on the season. It's not a referendum on anything else. But the biggest loser tonight, the reason the Milwaukee Bucks lost, falls squarely on the shoulders of Damian Lillard, in my opinion.
Well, look, first and foremost, let me go ahead and praise you for holding down the show while Chris and I were out over the holiday break. Had a wonderful vacation, came home, and I watched this mess that we saw tonight, right? So my first thought, that first half of the Bucks, where the Bucks scored 43 points, that was some of the most uninspired basketball we have seen from the Bucks all year. That may have been the most uninspired first half that we've seen from the Bucks all year. Absolutely terrible. It was literally a competition of who could miss, right? You get your miss in. Come get your miss in. Keep missing, right? It was unbelievable. I thought that was terrible. Conversely, the second half, man, I saw Adrian Griffin. I saw Dr. Griffin get his team the prescription it needed to put themselves in position. Unfortunately, tonight, Trey, they didn't need a prescription. What they needed was a sermon, right? Because these boys was uninspired. These boys was tired, right? Somebody had to light that fire up underneath them to get them going. Because, I mean, Dr. Griffin put them in position, right? He made the adjustments in the lineup, and it worked. But the problem is these guys just couldn't figure this thing out. One thing, point out a couple numbers that I find just absolutely appalling. Giannis had 17 rebounds tonight, right? Chris had 3, Brooke had 5, Dame had 2, Beasley had 1, Bobby had 6. If we do that math, that's 17 combined rebounds among 5 other players. Man, come on, man. These are 5 other major contributors. Guys, what are we doing? We just did not show up tonight. That's the first thing. Second thing is, look, I agree with you on the free throws, right? Giannis makes a couple more free. I'm not going to put this on Giannis because that man played his heart out the entire game. That man gave you 48 and 17, right? And probably and may have actually gone for could have went for more, but he gave you 48 and 17. His supporting cast around him in that starting lineup, though. Chris, 3 for 9. That's a tour date. Where's it? Chris playing at the Riverside, right? Brooke follows up. They double duty. They doubled right there on the same ticket, the same show card. Brooke, 3 for 9. That's another tour date. Dame Lillard said, hey, come back if you enjoyed this one. I'm going to give you another one on May 16th, like you said. Another tour date. I mean, my goodness, right? Like, this team just could not put the ball in the hole. It was unbelievable. So, right? And then the next thing is, right, Jeff Green, he going for a season high against us. I mean, this defense, guys, we know the perimeter defense is a problem. We have known the perimeter defense is an issue. I told y'all that. In fact, I keep telling y'all, listen, I don't really care that much about the perimeter defense if we can just give me another 3-pointer, right? Problem is, Malik Beasley shot 1 shot tonight. 1 shot tonight. I mean, you can't blame Dr. Griffin when the team does not show up. Because he did not do what we would have seen in the past, where it just would have been, it'll work out, right? No, he made active changes. And, unfortunately, this team just didn't have enough juice, and Giannis couldn't will him to win. We can talk about Dame Lillard all we want to. Look, we said we got Batman and Superman, right? They must have taken every single phone booth out of the city of Milwaukee. Right. So Superman, we got Clark. Right now we got Clark Kent. And to be honest with you, I'd rather have Lois Lane because she's consistent right now. Right? Like Lois Lane was always consistent. Clark Kent was just running around until he found a phone, jumped in that thing when there was a problem and got busy. But these guys out here right now, man, they look tired. They've played a lot of basketball. I'm not in the excuse-making business. Obviously, you aren't either, right? We don't need to make excuses. But I think at this point, man, Dame, tap that watch. Need a new battery. We got to do something. And I'll end with this. Everybody on that bench, right, starting with campaign, if your name is not Andre or your name is not the Nassas, oh, man, you should be on that trade block. 100%. We wheeling and dealing, right? The Potawatomi, the casino is open. It's like blackjack. We can't stay here. We got to keep hitting.
I agree on the trade front. Listen, we're watching these games. John Horst is watching these games. I say this often. Everybody's watching these games, and you know what's going to happen. You absolutely know what's going to happen. I had to point this out. Colin Racine says, you said on X, Twitter, you don't want to hear about the defense. Did you watch the game? Yeah, I did. The Bucks gave 112 points. Listen, the Bucks gave up. Listen, you can talk about defense in the first half. You can't talk about it in the second half. That's what I'm saying. You can't talk in the second half. I mean, it was night and day. The defense was, that's 49. The Bucks gave up 49 points in the second half. That is excellent. That is phenomenal defense. Like what? So if you're telling me that Dr. Griffin has figured this thing out defensively, right? And I'm just talking about for tonight, that he's figured it out. He made in-game adjustments to defend the basketball. You got to put up more than 108 points. The offense is, and that's what I'm getting. So it seems like for whatever reason, people have started to now, or at least I've started to see some of this, like the whole gameplay. What's this, Dr. Griffin? Adrian Griffin's. Okay, hold on, stop. We've never had a problem offensively. Like, this offense is playing at historic levels. The Bucks' offense has never been a problem. So it's almost like we came in tonight, and for whatever reason, people just decided to compound issues like, well, the offense didn't look the way that I wanted to look. But the offense has scored at a historic rate all season long. You can't I saw people telling me that the Bucks don't run plays. What are you watching? The Bucks run plays all night long. The Bucks run sets all night long. They run horns. They run pick and rolls. They run stuff all night long. They run stuff. They run out of timeout stuff. They run slobs. They run, beautiful stuff out of timeouts to get things going. So, I don't see some of that the way you guys clearly do. But, I guess my thing is when you get to a point, right, where you're able to get stops. And again, you talk about Malik Beasley, JT. My question on Malik Beasley and the way he shot tonight was because again, okay. My question on Malik Beasley and the way he shot tonight. Do you think that being benched, do you think that affected his confidence? He got in the game and turned the ball over a couple times. And then, but my thing to that point is the Bucks don't even shoot at 26% from three. So to act as if this was somehow the coach can't make the shots for you. How many three? Again, the Bucks lost by 4. Count how many open threes Damian Lillard just missed. Not including, including the one that at the end of the game, there was a beautiful play drawn up just for him that he, instead of putting it in the basket Dame time, he threw it off the side of the backboard. That's the issue that I'm having. Now, can the Bucks, obviously, can they play better? Should they play better through the entire 48-minute stretch? Obviously, there's no doubt about that. I think offensively that the first half was just an anomaly. The defense kind of looked more like it typically does. But what did we talk about at the beginning of this year, John? If your offense, that we had to change the mindset that this team is an offensively led team. That's what this team does. They got to score. My problem is when they're not scoring. I know the defense is a problem. We're not denying that. But that's something that's going to get solved on the back end. That's something that I really think you need one perimeter point of action defender, right? You need one point attack defender to pair with Damian Lillard to help solve some of those issues. And you saw that tonight when Andre Jackson Jr. came into the game, that it helped tremendously how the defense looked in the second half, right? So I do think Malik Beasley is going to get moved out of the starting lineup at some point, whether that comes through a trade or what happens. And it may not be, next game, Monday night against Utah, he might be back in the starting lineup. But at some point, I think the writing's on the wall. Malik Beasley and Damian Lillard are not going to be able to stay together as your two in your backcourt defensively. So
No.
So once that happens, right, you've still got to be able to score the basketball. And the first half, and to me, as this game played out, in the first half of the game, the Bucks did not score at the rate they needed to.
But that's the problem, right? When you make that adjustment and you go Andre Jackson Jr. and Marjon, right? Your scoring capability diminishes unless look. Honestly, I look at Marjon to get buckets more than I look at Andre Jackson Jr. Right? But again, Marjon it hadn't been all that reliable this year too, right? So you've got to do something there because again, Malik Beasley, yes, fine. If we're going to bring him off the bench, okay. And I'll say tonight, he did look out of sorts. He just looked completely out of sorts. And I don't know, like you said, if it was a confidence issue. I don't know if there was a conversation or something, if he was in his head or what. But he looked uncomfortable. And again, he only shot the ball one time. This is a volume shooter. So that is wild when you see Malik Beasley, who coming into this week was 3rd in the NBA in three-point shooting percentage. This just can't it's just something that just you don't typically see happen. And I'll chalk that up as an anomaly, although I believe the Bucks only made 4 3-pointers in the first half. The three-point shooting was just abysmal tonight across the board. Shout out to Pat C, who I think led the team in three-pointers tonight, was 3 for 5 from the field, from the three-point line.
Yeah, I agree. You got to shoot the ball better than that. And again, Dr. Griffin can't make the ball go into the basket for you. You've got to be a part of that, an active part of that. See some comments in here. Kyle says it's only January 6th, so I shouldn't be worried. It's January 6th, and I am a little worried. I'm not, because reinforcements are coming. Jay Crowder's coming, and you also know that John Horst is going to make moves. If this was March the 6th, I might be a little more concerned. January 6th, I'm not concerned. The Bucks are 25-11 at this point. So no, I guess I'm not concerned because I think we know what this team is now at this point, right? I think we kind of know what we see. If there's a person I'm concerned about, it's Damian Lillard. That's the only guy that I look at and go, I'm concerned with his play, because he's a guy that I look at and I think, I think he's going to play a certain way, and he's not, right? Like, I know Marjon Beauchamp is going to be probably inconsistent. At this point, Bobby Portis, I don't expect him to come in and ball out. I don't expect Pat Connaughton to come in and make all his shots. I expected Damian Lillard to play at the level of Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was my expectation. And so far for this year, for the majority of stretches, I think Dame had one nice 2-week stretch, and he's had like a two maybe 3 week stretch, where 2.5 week stretch where he was really good. And then he also had a couple games in there, like the opening night against Philly, and some clutch moments that were really, really good. Outside of that, this has been, and maybe not even this bad, but this has been more of the Dame Lillard that I've seen, these wild, kind of inconsistent stretches of play where I go, what? This is not the guy I thought we traded for. But again, even with him, very early. Very early. Bucks and 4 asked, I want to ask you this too, JT. Bucks and 4 asked, do you think Dame's personal life is affecting him, the divorce and now custody battle with his ex?
What I want to say is no, right? What I want to
question.
say is that it's a new locker room. It's a different team. You've gone from having to be the hero to playing a key part, right? You've gone from in this, I think, being true point guard in this, which is what you kind of need to do because you have so many talented guys that can put the ball in the hole. And I want to say that, look, I just don't think he's fully used to playing with this team, and he's still trying to figure this thing out. Cross country move, and I want to say everything. His personal life has nothing to do with this, but I just don't know if that's being honest, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine he's a human being. Divorce tears people up, right? Think about other athletes that went through high profile divorces, or think about a perfect example, Ed Orgeron, right? He was down there wilding out going through his divorce. So there's a lot of people who I think, Ed was down there tripping when he was going through his divorce in LA. Oh, well, you knew, we heard the story. You knew it, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, so I think divorce does tear people up. And I certainly would say, I don't think that is the reason for all of this, but you can't rule it out, right? You certainly you can't rule that out. And look, I don't pretend to be plugged into any of the locker room sources on the Bucks. I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know if there's leadership issues. I don't know if there's some real conflict there. I don't know how the personality management is going. I think Dr. Griffin has a tough task on his hand because you do have some really, really accomplished superstars in that locker room you're trying to manage, and you're still trying to figure this thing out on the fly too. I'm not really sure what it is, but what I will say is that something is up with Dame. And we 100% have to admit, I think he's got 30 points in like 2 of the last 9 games or something, if I'm not mistaken, since like December 21st. I mean, something's up with Dame. There's no question about that.
Yeah, Tony from Texas says Giannis is the only one who gave a damn. Bucks perimeter D and pick and roll D is some of the worst I've seen in the last 10 years. Something's got to change. Again, I agree first half. And again, and to a total point, yes, I agree. But I thought they figured it out tonight as they battled back and got themselves back into that basketball game. And there was a real point where, and I think I'll tell you, with 8 minutes to go and the Bucks got it down under 10. I think they got like the 8 with 8 minutes to go or something. And I tweeted out, I said, if Dame goes crazy his last 8 minutes, the Bucks will win. And then I remember at the 5-minute mark, I went 3 minutes is going by, nothing. And so that was kind of indicative of the night. Like, what did we talk? John, this is all the stuff that we talked about. What did we say from the beginning of the year? Get me within a couple possessions. Get me within under 10 points. Get me to 10, 11, 12. Get me somewhere right there with a quarter to go. Either way, up or down, 2-3 possessions, I'm taking Dame and Giannis. I'm telling you, I'm good with that. Like, at the end of the day, no matter what you want to say about where the Bucks started, how they look, they got to the point where I was comfortable. Where I'm like, at the beginning, yes, this is what I want to be in. And tonight was a night where Damian Lillard didn't show up. Giannis continued to show up. Damian Lillard did not. And so that's a problem if we get to these clutch moments. And unlike the first weeks of the season where Dame and Giannis kind of did their thing, Dame's not doing it. And that's my, like I said, that's my issue. We talk about, Damian Lillard. They got to the point they wanted to get to. They got to the point where we said they needed to be. And they didn't execute from that point.
Yeah, no, and you are right. You are right. And again, today is January 6th, right? So we're not, the sky is not falling. We are 25-11, and we are figuring this out. Yes, we have bad habits. We have trends. We know fourth quarter close has been a signature. That's been the Bucks' signature this year. It's a very strong fourth quarter close, and you've seen that for the majority of the games. Having said that, um, we got to pick it up. We got to figure out what's going on with Dame at some point here. We got to figure out, right? Because the problem is that what you don't want to do is continue to reinforce these bad habits, right? And then continue to have this man not in the groove. And you look up his March, he's still not in the groove. You look up his April, he's still not in the groove. And now you sit here hoping that he can string together, you know, 5, 6 games in a series at a time. And it would seem unlikely at that point. The hardest part about Dame too is, look, the numbers was Dame he's still averaging like 25 and 4, so the numbers don't tell the full story, which makes this
Well, it's
tough for, I think, the casual Bucks fan.
The percentages.
Correct, correct, right. You got to dig a little bit deeper than
Yeah.
looking at points, rebounds, assists, right. You got to look a little bit deeper. Then you got to look at look at this 5-game stretch. Look at this 10-game stretch, right. Look at how he's doing month over month. You have to really dig into the numbers, I think, for more than the casual Bucks fan to really gauge his performance, but. Yeah, I'm a little concerned, not long term, not like this is going to impact the trajectory of this team's season. I'm not there yet because we're still only January 6th. But Dame is in a slump, and we got to figure out: is this a 30-game slump? Is this going to be a 15-game slump? What do we got to do to get Dame out of the slump? And I just hope that the answer lies within the white lines on the basketball court and not. Not his personal life.
No, yeah, no, 100%. He's absolutely slumping. Someone in the Milwaukee Bucks, at He Manson says, someone in the Milwaukee Bucks organization needs to get this Damian Lillard situation figured out, whether it's telling Giannis to play off Lillard or to change the offense to fit Lillard more or whatever. He's being wasted and, in effect, turning into a liability. He's so unaggressive, it's sickening. He looks as confident as a fat kid. He looks as confident as a fat kid in the middle school dance.
Yeah. I thought he was gonna say as a fat kid at the swimming pool,
Well,
but
right, yeah.
all right, yeah, right. Sometimes in middle school dance, boys be getting down. Don't play.
Apparently not the fat kids.
Right.
But and my only pushback on that again, I think what I've seen, because I watched him last night the other night against San Antonio, and once he started getting downhill, he was fine. The issue, in my opinion, is not that you got to change the offense, because the offense. When he isn't, because the thing is, I've seen him be aggressive in this offense, and he looks good. The issue is when he starts missing shots, to me, he gets unaggressive, and he gets passive, and he starts to really just start to give the ball up. And it seems like he really wants to hit the jumper, and he's got to get to the point where, again, if that jumper's not hitting right now, man, you just got to go to the basket. And I think he gets upset because he doesn't get fouled. Like, he doesn't get the calls. I think some people think he should get or that he gets, and I agree. I don't think he gets as many calls as he should, but you just got to keep attacking and be aggressive. Also, He-Man says, I think Trey is sleeping with Adrian Griffin. I've never seen that kind of devotion from someone not getting booty in return.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess it's Saturday night. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I'm just reading what people are saying here. At Carlos Cool 25 says, we got to move on from Brooke and maybe Chris. See, that's kind of stuff like I don't think, no, you're not moving on from. Now, Brooke Lopez is making like $25 million. And again, when you say move on, when? Because, and it's the same conversation. That's why I say, no, I'm not. Then I'm sleeping with Adrian Griffin. Well, then put me in bed with Brooke Lopez and Chris Middleton. Because right now, you can say Ayo, but right now.
Ayo, pause. Ayo, pause.
My point there is. My point. What time is it's getting late over here, dog. My point there is we're too late in the game. Nobody's moving on. Now, could you move from Brooke Lopez? There's a very outside shot. I don't even think that happens. You cannot move on from Brooke Lopez and Chris Middleton at the third. If you thought integrating Dame into this offense has been a challenge, and how are you going to now? You want to trade Brooke Lopez or Chris Middleton this offseason? Maybe this offseason, but right now you're trying to win a title, and you telling me you're gonna win a title. Like, it's gonna be tough enough to win a title with an entire superstar coming to your team. You tell me you're gonna win one if you trade or move on from Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton and whoever you're going to get back in a return from that? Because, yeah, would you get a haul for that? Probably. You probably get something decent in return. But do you think, not going to say a haul, but something decent, do you think you could really now integrate a new coach, Damian Lillard, and then 2 or 3 other guys that are going to come into the Milwaukee Bucks and win basketball games deep into May and June? That's not happening. So Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, and Adrian Griffin, those guys are going to be there. Now, you want to talk about the bench guys? Sure. But all those guys are going to be there if you're planning on competing this year. So in my opinion, all these people who are upset with what the Bucks do and how they look, you can cry about these guys all you want to. Your best bet is to hope that they get to playing and coaching the way you'd like to, because that's the only thing that's going to help you this year. Otherwise, you're waiting for the offseason.
That's true. I mean, ideally, now, the fans who are saying we need to move on from Brook and Chris, they're not crazy based on solely their observations. There are times where Brook Lopez looks beyond washed. There are, and that happens frequently, right? Having said that, when you look at it a little bit more, like you said, and you think about team chemistry, you think about how someone fits, how someone integrates himself within the offense, I can see there being some logistical issues, especially if you get a guy and he's got like 30-something games with the Bucks to figure this out. Then we're going to go into the playoffs, and then we're going to get to that second round when things start to really get difficult. Yeah, I could 100% see some challenges there. The only reason why I don't think you move Chris, unless you get someone who's almost a surefire upgrade at that point, and who can come in, is that Chris does have that chemistry with Giannis, which is 100% going to be important because Dame does not, right? And when you think about playoff coming together and how everything gels and fits together, have another guy on the perimeter that knows Giannis, have another guy that can kind of help. Maybe those two get the magic going if Dame can't click on and off. Okay, I get that based on experience. Yeah, you may have something there, and so I think that would make you a little bit hesitant to move on from Chris. But the fans aren't wrong, or the listeners aren't wrong by saying that Chris, and it looked like we coming to the end of the road with Brook and Chris. Like, yeah, I think this offseason, 100%, you got to see what you can get. And the only way you trade in season is if you really think you can find a seamless fit. For Brook, I don't think you trade Chris, but I think, listen, if we can find a big that can come in and maybe make this thing work, I think you definitely got to listen to it. He could take his brother too. We package deals. We trading Brook. We trading Robin. Robin got to go. And you know what? Listen, if it really comes down to it, hey, we're gonna trade Brook. We're gonna give you Robin. We got campaign in there too. You want Cam? Go ahead and take your Cam. Right? Go ahead. You want Cam as a sweetener in there? We'll go ahead and give you Cam too.
Yeah, I guess I guess when it's just when I think about what the Bucks need to do and kind of roster construction, I really just don't think they're far off. Drew Barringer says ultimately the Bucks are a good team, sometimes great, but not a championship winning team. And if you think that the Bucks are good, sometimes great, I'm just gonna tell you right now. And so a lot of people probably don't want to hear this. For January 6th, that's fine. If you're telling me that the team, you take the Bucks out of it. Don't look at Giannis and Dame. Don't look at none of that. If you're telling in January the 6th, if your thought about your favorite basketball team is, hey, I think we're good, sometimes great, but right now I don't think we're a championship winning team. I would tell any fan, I don't care if you're a fan of the Lakers, I don't care if you're a fan of the Celtics, I don't care if you're a fan of Philly, I don't care who you are. I'll tell you, hey, if you think you're good, sometimes great, not a championship team, you have 40 some games to figure that out. You got trade deadline to add a piece, to add 2 pieces, to shore that up, to continue gelling, especially, and I'd ask the question, I'd say, hey, do you have any new players playing significant minutes on your team? And you say, yeah, I got a new player playing significant minutes. Oh, well, that's even better. So that means that those guys hadn't even had real time to gel yet. So you're going to have more time to gel. You got more time to get this thing right. And they'll say, do you have a new coach too? Yeah, we got a new coach. Oh, man, so even more new things So I would tell you, you have 40-some more games to figure this out. And if you think that's where you are, the only thing I would change to that comment where you say a good team, sometimes great, but not a championship winning team, I would disagree because I think anybody who's 25-11 at this point, you're a great basketball. Like you're a really, really, you're a top level basketball team. You're the second seed in the East, and you played almost 40 games at this point, right? 25-11. You played 36 games or so at this point. You've almost played half of a year. and you are the second best team in the Eastern Conference. Like, once you get to playing half a season, you can't go, well, strength of schedule. No, that's half the year that you played. So you line up everybody in front of you, and you're on pace for 50 50 plus wins, right? If you're at that pace right now, you are a very good basketball team. And yeah, I'm telling you, I just don't think the Bucks are that far away. I really don't. Kamel Monet says, haven't said this often about the team, but it wasn't enough offense tonight outside of Giannis. Bucks lost by 5, missed 13 free throws, too many misses from the charity stripe on a night where shots weren't falling already.
Would agree with that. 100% would agree with that. Yeah, that is the insult to injury. You missing free throws like that when the Bucks finished tonight. They've was it 69% from the free throw line?
Yep.
Yeah, that's not gonna get it. Not gonna get it. We need that. We need that to be up over 80. Because what we really need that is to be up over 80, be at 80 or above. And you know what? And that's what the Rockets shot tonight, right? The Rockets shot 84% from the free throw line. Here's the thing, right? Part of me wants to say this though. With all this analysis and everything that went on, this team lost by 4 points. They had chances to win this game. Even with Dame stinking it up, even with Malik Beasley shooting one shot, even with Chris and Brooke hitting tour dates, this team still had a chance to win this game, right? And at some point, what you always say, Trey, it's a make or miss league.
Yeah.
Guys, this is a make or miss league. And so, look, they're 25-11. They have the second best win total in all of the NBA. That may change tonight at some point, but I believe that's right? The Bucks, because I think the Celtics have the best record at like 28-7 or something, and then the Timberwolves have 25 wins as well. I'm actually looking at now. Timberwolves are 25-9, Thunder 23-11. Yeah, so the Bucks have the second highest win total in the league. So to say that, I mean, that's where we expect them to be. That's where we want them to be. Again, it's January 6th. We don't need a championship team. We're going to reevaluate this thing after the trade deadline because I know Horst is going to make moves. We know Horst is going to make moves. There's no question about that. But again, this one stings. It stings. Just like the losses to the Pacers kind of sting a little bit. But, the reality of it is we're 36 games in, and we got a whole lot left. So
I'll tell you if
we'll get there.
I'll tell you if Bucks fans were Denver Nuggets fans, they would be calling for Mike Malone's head. About the way you losing games, y'all would want Michael Malone, who just won a championship, gone in a heartbeat. And you should hold him to an even higher standard because he has been head coach for a long period of time. So I'd hold him to an even higher standard of losing and how they look throughout the regular season. They've lost more games than the Milwaukee Bucks. Kyle, and I'm going to disagree with you. Says you can say all you want, but they are losing and struggling against some of the worst teams in the league. That is a problem. Again, that's just fundamentally untrue because the Bucks. What do we say they are? What do you say? 25-11? Is that what?
25-11.
25-11. So they've lost 4 games to the Indiana Pacers. So if you take away losses to the Indiana Pacers, the Milwaukee Bucks are 25-7. So when you say they're losing it, it's almost when you say they're losing and struggling. I mean, the image I get from a team that's losing and struggling to some of the worst teams in the NBA, and I wouldn't consider the Pacers one of the worst teams in the NBA. I just picture more than you got 7 of those losses to the PT Loop. When you tell me we're losing and struggling, I picture more than 7 losses to teams outside of Indiana. Charles says, I think you can get Grayson Allen back and trade Malik. Like, why would I do that? Why? Tell me why. Tell me why. Like what? So you see what Malik Beasley does defensively. You seen Grayson Allen, what Grayson Allen does defensively. I don't think Grayson Allen's any better than Malik Beasley on defense. I think the difference was he played next to Drew Holiday, which made things look a little bit better. And Drew Holiday, and the difference between those two was Drew Holiday took on whoever the best wing or best matchup was in the backcourt, where Grayson Allen took whoever the straggler was, or the second guy, right? Like that's a difference. But and again, everything just looked much better within the confines of that defense. But I don't think that Grayson Allen is much better than Malik Beasley at all. Now again, Grayson Allen has shot the ball well. he has shot the ball well, but I'm not going there. Green Ranger says our offense is good, but it won't reach its potential until we hand the ball over to Dame. Again, I listen. You can say that all you want to. That we have handed the ball over to Dame. I can't. Let me tell you this. I can't hand the ball over to a guy that's shooting 5 of 16, 30% from the field. I can't hand you the ball at will. Now, what I will say, John Tyus, I will say that I do think that, and this is interesting because down the stretch against San Antonio, Chris Middleton only played the first half because it was a back-to-back. So Chris Middleton played the first half of the game, and he sat the second half due to him playing. That's the first time he played a back-to-back in forever. And Dame and Giannis really established that pick and roll. They really looked comfortable together. Dame didn't have to concede the ball to Chris Middleton at all. Now, if there's a slight change I would maybe make to the offense, if you think that that's something that needs to happen, is maybe you do less of Chris Middleton facilitating, and it's either, for the most part, either Giannis or Dame brings it up and they run the show coming down the court, instead of having Chris facilitate at all when those guys are on the floor. Because maybe that's what Damian needs to get himself going. But people active, you just hand the ball off Damian Lillard, let him do his thing. Well, again, he gets it. Damian Lillard took the second most shots as anybody on his basketball team. Giannis took 25, and rightfully so because he was 65%. Damian Lillard was right behind him with 18. Damian Lillard took the most threes on his basketball team tonight. And it's a team that everybody can get any shot you want. You can shoot at will. The green light is open. Brooke took 6, Chris took 5, Pat took 5. Pat was 3 of 5 from 3. So everybody can shoot at will. He shot at will. He got his shots up. He was 12.5% from 3. When you tell me, just give him the ball. Listen, I tell you, he had the ball. He didn't do nothing with it. Tonight.
No. He didn't. And look, Dame, I don't want to do a deep dive into Dame because I still want to feel like, listen, it's early. My optimism and experience tells me that, look, there's 46 games left, right? They played 36, 82, 46 games left. There's 46 games left. It may work out. It should work out. And more likely than not, will work out. They're going to get this straightened out, hopefully, right? But man, Dame there are times where he just looks inept, and there are times where it looks like his confidence isn't there, and he looks a little bit timid, or he looks a little bit slow. He does not look like he looks like a reluctant leader at times, and it's just something that we got to figure this out. We just got to figure this out because we did expect more than what we're seeing from Dame right now. And again, it's January 6th. It's not April 6th. So the sky is not falling, but
no, sky's not falling.
3. Good grief.
D-Cole123 says, honestly, I feel like Dame's a rhythm shooter. I don't think the offense is predicated for him to get in rhythm. But you may be right. I'm not even denying that might be right. But here's what I'm telling you: everybody's got to play. Like when the Heatles came together, when it was LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh, I'm sure Chris Bosh and Wade, they like to play a certain way. Chris Bosh didn't want to do what he wanted to do when he was in Toronto. You think Wade has accomplished much more as a professional than Damian Lillard ever has. Right? He's winning a title being a number 1 on the team. You don't think he had to give way to LeBron James? Right? So everybody's got to give up some. Everybody's got to give up some. That's no different from Dame. Like you can't be the new guy who comes in and everybody's got to concede. Everybody's got to change their game for you. Everybody's got you do what you do. Everybody else has got to back up. Oh, Damian Lillard's in town. We all got to tuck tail and let Damian Lillard run the show and do whatever he wants. That's not how this works at all. Everybody has got to contribute there's only one basketball. Everybody has got to sacrifice some, including Damian Lillard. So Dame's got to figure that out because I don't want Giannis to sacrifice. Giannis is balling. And I'm trusting Giannis 100%. I don't want to have Giannis hold back because, we got to get the ball to Dame because I don't know what to do. Dame got to have the ball. I got to stand around because Dame got – No. So Dame, again, I'm not disagreeing that Dame maybe should have had the ball. I'm just saying he's got to hit shots. And down the stretch of San Antonio, down the stretch of Philly, I can name the game. There's been multiple games this year where down the stretch, Dame had the ball. He was doing whatever he wanted to do. It's a confidence thing. So there have been multiple times this season where he's had the ball in his hands and he's dictated the flow. Tonight, he was not playing well. And I think that's why he says, well, the guy who's rolling and scoring all night, he's got to have the ball. And that's what it was. And again, you're a drop dead shoot. You got to hit shot. When the shots come to you, you got to hit them. You have to hit him. He just did not tonight. Junes Foshiz says, respectfully, can't coach the ball through the net. 2 of 19 from 3 won't cut it from guys 2nd through 4th in salary. 2 of 19 from 3 from the guys 2nd and 4th, second through 4th in salary. I'm assuming he's talking about Damian Lillard, Brook Lopez, and Chris Middleton.
Chris.
Yep.
2 of 19. That.
And JT, that's not hold on. That's not an Adrian Griffin problem. Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, and Damian Lillard shooting 2 of 19 is not a Adrian Griffin problem. That's not his fault.
No.
You cannot blame him for that. You can blame Adrian for a lot. You can't blame him for going 2 of 19 for 3 from 3 of your better players on the basketball team. Not his problem.
Now, here's one question I do have, though.
Go ahead.
Right? And again, we're splitting hairs here. I get it, right? Bucks are down 20, right? You take Malik Beasley out. You put Andre Jackson Jr. and Marjan in, right? Beasley's one of your top 3-point shooters in the NBA this year, period, right? So the question you got to ask is, right, with Beasley playing 6 minutes or 16 minutes, you put him back in that second half for a short period of time in that third.
And he stumped.
Should Adrian Griffin have said, "Listen, I got my horse here on the bench. We got to get some threes up. I need my shooter to come in and get his team a spark, right? I need my shooter. Yes, defensively he is a paper bag, but at the end of the day, hey, I need my volume shooter. Come on, well, let's get this thing going. Is that something that maybe should have happened? You could maybe argue that. Yeah, look, Malik Beasley got 1 shot tonight from 3, and he made it. That cannot happen when you have a player that talented from 3 on your squad. If he's not injured, he can't shoot the ball 1 time, right? He can't do that. So I guess what I'm saying is, and again, we're splitting hairs here, should Malik Beasley have gotten more than 16 minutes? Should he have given him maybe 20 minutes, right? Should he have brought him in a little bit more? Maybe, right? Like maybe that's a solution, because you got to think maybe Malik Beasley hits a couple threes at least.
Well, maybe, but the issue is when he got in the second half after not starting in place of Andre Jackson Jr., not only one was the offense much better and the defense much better, but when he did get in, he had 2 very costly turnovers. I believe both of his turnovers came in the third quarter. They were kind of and so when he got his opportunities to get back in the game and play well, he did not. He just didn't. So I guess
he was out of sorts.
Maybe, and maybe, but again, I'm telling you, I have a high feeling that he is not when this comes post All-Star, post deadline, whatever. I do not believe that. I don't believe Malik Beasley is going to be your starting wing for the Milwaukee Bucks when this team rolls into the playoffs. That's just my thought. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I think you got to get better on defense again. Is this something that Dr. Griffin saw? And that's at Jay Will says it's a win if Griff learned he has to pair Marjan or Ajax with Dame and not Beasley or Payne. So there are people who say, hey, that's a coaching point right there. Give me _A_Buck says still second in the East when Dame can't throw a rock in the ocean, but roster changes will need to happen. John, so roster changes. So we talk about guys, maybe Thibault, I believe he's in. Is he in Portland? I believe Thibault's in Portland. What roster changes? We talk about, I think somebody in the chat mentioned Caruso. What roster changes do you think, are there guys out there for a while? I was thinking Quentin Grimes, but Quentin Grimes has started to play much better since he got moved to the bench. And again, you talk about moving guys to the bench. It can help because Quentin Grimes, well, I'm not saying moved to the bench. I think, he was starting in New York, got moved to the bench, wasn't happy with some of his minutes. He got moved out of the starting lineup and it started to play much, much better for the Knicks. That was the guy who I thought, would have been great to go after and get. But it seems like maybe they would probably prefer him to stay in his role now. Are there some guys that you think of the PJ Tuckers, the Matisse Thybulles, the Dorian Finney-Smith, the Harrison Barnes, and some of those guys out in Sacramento who have been rumored to be available. Apparently, the Atlanta Hawks' entire team is available outside of Trae Young and Jalen Johnson. So, I mean, are there some guys that you look at and go, okay, maybe they would help if we pair them with Dame up there at that 2 spot?
There are a lot of guys who I think may be available. Again, I think the issue is what do you give up, right? When you hear names like Karis LeVert, it's like, okay, well, yeah, what they gonna want for him, right? Like what you gonna want for, or even Harrison Barnes, what they gonna want for him, right? I look, I think the first thing you got to do, the first thing I'm looking at, obviously everybody wants a perimeter defender, right? Mm-hmm. Jay Crowder's out. Everybody wants a perimeter defender. Ideally, you get a 3-and-D guy. Right. Well, great. Doesn't everybody in the league want a 3-and-D guy? So good luck. That becomes difficult too. The second thing I look at though is I still think, and I know we disagree on this, but listen, you gotta get another big. Bobby's just not getting it done anymore, and I get what he means to the team as a glue guy. Right. He's a glue guy. But is it possible that somebody like maybe PJ Tucker on the buyout market, you bring him, you can find a way to get him in maybe as a glue guy? I mean, it's kind of tough mid-season bringing in a glue. Is it possible that you try to go after a big and maybe bring in PJ back into this locker room or something to supplement for what you lose with Bobby from a culture perspective? Maybe.
I think. Yeah, no, I definitely think that would that could potentially be something that would help. And again, as you said, the buyout market 100%. What do you think? I think of other guys. Maybe like a Royce O'Neal potentially. You could think about him in Milwaukee. I think again, at the end of the day, there are going to be some guys that are going to be available, and I think they're going to be available. And I don't think you're going to need to do a lot to get them. But again, I would focus, if you could, on, and again, I'm cool with PJ Tucker, right? I'm cool with PJ Tucker as a buyout candidate. But if I was focusing on the guys I'd really focus on, if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, youth, because you see it every time you put MarJon Beauchamp in, and really, I'm really talking about Andre Jackson Jr., those guys, and that's why when people go, oh, well, it's an, I know you guys hate it when I talk about Dr. Griffin, but, he's not motivating guys. And I go, well, maybe they just old, because Andre Jackson Jr. seems motivated. Every time he come in the game, he seems very motivated to me. So maybe Dr. Griffin only gets through to the young guys. Well, maybe he only gets through to superstar Giannis and young guys. Because Giannis always looks motivated to me for the most part. And then and the young guys look very motivated. Like MarJon, even when he's making mistakes, he's just making mistakes. But he looks like he's out there hustling, right? And I think the same thing of Andre Jackson Jr. Even making mistakes, I've never looked at Andre Jackson Jr. and gone, man, he's milking it right now. He ain't even giving me an effort. I've never had an effort problem with Andre Jackson Jr. I think he's sometimes some basketball IQ stuff, but again, he's a rookie. He makes some mistakes. Never, ever, ever is it an effort issue with Andre Jackson Jr. So when you're looking, do you look to bring in a young guy, another guy that's rumored? Could you bring in? I believe he plays for the Hawks. Adrian Griffin's son, I think it's AJ Griffin. Do you bring who is a young athletic guy who's a very, again, to me, the guys got to bring in young, athletic. It cannot be, and again, I said Peter Tucker on a buyout, but I'd rather it be somebody young who, when they come into the game, is not going to be lackadaisical. They're going to come in spry and ready to go. We got a bunch of old guys. We got that covered. Give me the young guys who are ready to run and run through a wall.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is youth. We need youth. We need some youth. We need some spry legs. We need aggression and passion and intensity versus experience. I didn't think about Adrian Griffin's son, but I'll say, man, we already got kind of a Nepo theme in this locker room here with Brooke Lopez and the Nazis, and we got some. And let's just call it how we see it. We got the Nepo theme going in, and neither one of these guys is really worth a whole lot, right? They literally relied on that last name to keep that seat in the locker room. I don't know, man. I guess the question I have about the trade market is, do we want to go big, or do we just want to try to address a need? Right?
Well,
Like that's kind of the thing, right? So for example, do you look at a guy like Christian Wood, right? Could he work? Could Christian Wood work? And he probably wouldn't be too expensive, right? But do you look at a guy like Christian? I mean, again, I'm not endorsing that one way or the other, but I'm saying like he might be available. You know?
Yeah, but here's my thing. So I guess at my issue, he doesn't help. To me, the biggest issue of this Bucks team is the point of attack defenders, guys running by guys, right?
True.
Now, again, I agree, but you're playing. Bobby doesn't play like a 6'10". He's 6'10". He don't play like it, right? Like he doesn't.
No.
He doesn't really play like a big. So you're essentially playing without that now. Like, this Bucks team, we talk about it all the time, will be much better when you have Giannis running the 5 too. Right? When you have Giannis at the 5, things will get better. So you can even go small ball, which is, again, why you want that 6'8", 6'9" guy who you can play something like that, kind of a wingish kind of player, and just have Giannis play the 5 and run it like that. And do you really need another legit big coming in there for Bobby Portis when Bobby Portis isn't really playing like a big anyway? And maybe at that point you can keep a Bobby Portis if you want to for certain situations and keep him on the roster. But just when I need to go small ball, I still got Giannis at the 5, but I got another wingish kind of athletic 6'8" guy, 6'7" guy, like an Andre Jackson Jr. type, maybe a little more solid that I can run with. I mean, could you do something like that? I would, in my opinion, I just don't think I would trade my horses in for a backup big who's going to be my backup anyway. And so go ahead.
So all right. And I'm gonna and again, I don't have an opinion on this one way or the other. Just take Brook Lopez.
Okay.
About Jeremiah Grant.
From Portland. Well, I don't think the money matches up there either because Brook, I think, makes 25 and Jeremy Grant's got a big deal. I think he's making a ton of money. So I don't think the money matches up.
Oh, is he making? I see what you're saying.
He's got a big deal. I don't think the money matches up there. But even somebody, now somebody like that, yeah, because they can play offense too. But again, I just don't. Again, why would Portland do that? I don't, I don't see it. I don't see why they would do it. I know that some names people talk about potentially be on the move. Malcolm Brogdon might be on the move. I would, again, the way he trashed the city, I don't know if I would bring him back either or want to. There's a question on the floor that I want to get to. Asking, do you think, who asked? It was just right here. Do you think that Brook, I can't find who said it, but they asked, Kyle and Racine, do you think Brook and Chris can get a title this year? And I'll tell you this, JT, here's the other reason why I wouldn't move Brook Lopez. 2 reasons. Philadelphia 76, and this also answers Kyle's question as well. So number 1, Chris Middleton, yes, I think Chris Middleton, as a number 3, Chris Middleton's fine. I'm okay with, I've seen him play peak Chris right now as number 3 has been good, okay? But if I go to Brook Lopez, and I'm talking about Brook, 2 reasons why I keep Brook on this roster. Philadelphia 76ers, Denver Nuggets. If I go up against either one of those teams, and it's not even a guarantee that I do, but if I go up against either one of those teams, Brook Lopez is vitally important to play a guy like Joel Embiid, because think about what Brook Lopez's issues are. Guys, again, who are nimble, and I think I talked about this on the last show too. Guys that are nimble, that can get past him. But Brook Lopez, right? Joel Embiid, stationary target, big on big. And then Nikola Jokic.
Hey, yo, all right.
I'm just saying, those are the guys that when I look and I go, ooh, I need a Brook Lopez for those matchups. And those are very specific matchups. Again, a team like Boston, that's where I need my smaller guys so I can play Giannis at the 5 against Kristaps Porzingis and those types. But yeah, I do think I just wouldn't move on from Brook Lopez yet. This year, yes, and then you get to later on off season. If you don't win a title, then that's something to discuss. Again, and think about this: only one team's going to win it all. So, you got to take that into consideration as well. I know everybody wants to win it. There's probably 8, 9, 10 teams who think they can win it. It's just not going to happen.
True. That is true. 2 teams make it and 1 team win it, right? And really, what are you really looking at? I think for most teams is you're looking at how to win your conference, right? Like it's unpredictable what's going to happen. You're looking at you're constructing your roster to compete with your conference. And yeah, I can see the advantage, but on the flip side, Boston, you need smaller guys to get out of the East. You're probably gonna have to get through Boston, right? So Brook maybe doesn't help you as much in that situation as he does. Now, granted, if you got, like you said, if you got to play the 76ers, you got to play Embiid. Okay, yeah, no, that's his speed. You good there. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think the thing that we need from Brook though is improved play. We need to see some and I don't need Brook to be how he was last year. I just need Brook to be much better than what we're seeing right now.
I just don't understand. And again, this is not an AG thing because he was doing this with Bud too. I just don't understand that we're gonna stick him out the 3-point line and see what happens, man. Get your 7 foot, get your butt in the paint and play back to the basket and score the ball. So
furthest you need to be up is on that elbow. I don't need you. Nope. I don't want you guarding space in 30 feet out. No, sir. Not at all.
And again, the occasional 3, we know Brook can shoot the rock, so the occasional 3, I don't mind it, but you got to be able to. You just have to, in my opinion, be able to dominate a little bit in the paint as well. Green Ranger says trade Lopez for Andrew Wiggins, then trade Bobby Portis, Patton Marjan for Collins. Issues solved. Nah, Andrew Wiggins is again. I don't like I don't do the mental health thing. Remember Andrew Wiggins last year? He went away from the team and. I don't know.
Was it like 4 or 5? It was a while when Andrew Wiggins was gone.
And they never did they ever actually say what happened? Like I don't even know what happened.
Oh, no.
I don't think that the Warriors, whatever ended up happening, I don't think they were too happy with it. And then after the fact, he's back this year and he didn't play. I was watching some of that game the other night. He didn't play down the stretch. So, and I know people don't like Steve Kerr. They wanted Kuminga in. I'm good on Andrew Wiggins. Now to me, that my issue with that is it's a high risk, high reward. I don't think you're in the position. Excuse me. I just don't think you're in a position to make a high risk move right now. I just don't think you're in a position to do that. Stacks G says fire AG. I've been defending him for months. I can't anymore. I guess, and again, that's so for anybody in the comments, if you fire, and because here's my question. If you fire Adrian Griffin today, what's your move? Who you hiring? Terry Stotts? That's your big move. You gonna bring in Terry Stotts? What has he accomplished ever in his career? You gonna bring back Mike Budenholzer? You know that ain't happening. So what is your move? You fire Adrian Griffin, and then your move is what? Because all I hear is, well, we should have hired Nick Nurse. Or now again, the guy I would have hired is potentially Ime Udoka, but anyway, that's beside the point. But that's and again, Nick Nurse. I'm trying to tell you what's about to happen with Philadelphia. And you realize this: the MVP race is about to be wide open again too, John Tyus, because Joel Embiid missed another game tonight. He has 10 more games he can miss through the next 40. What's about 45 or some games for them boys. You think now again, maybe he will, but they tried to rest him and do all this stuff. They tried to rest him against sorry teams. Now he has a legit injury. It happens to Embiid every year. So all this Nick Nurse talk, we did a Nick Nurse's demand. Well, again, he's running, and the other night, just stupid stuff from Nick Nurse, where he left Joel Embiid in the game so that he could get his 30 points. And then he had to miss the next game. So again, you got a guy who just runs guys into the ground. That's Nick Nurse. He's gonna run guys into the ground and it's gonna. I'm telling you, it's going to happen again with Joel Embiid, where he's gonna be hurt again. It's not gonna be Nick Nurse's fault all the way, but he's gonna contribute to it. And again, this other one. I mean, people always talk about Nick Nurse. All the things he's done. Again, do you know who came up with the defense? I guess I won't tell you the guy who came up with the actual defense to stop Giannis. You know who that was?
I know who that is.
Okay.
That is our doctor writing our prescriptions and giving us our medicine, right?
Okay.
And again,
that's what I thought. Right. That was the mastermind behind that defense. If you didn't know. But okay. Give Nick Nurse all the credit. There you go. All right.
But that's a really good point you make, though. When people are like, fire Adrian Griffin, well, who are you going to hire? Would you go put Joe Prunty? Who's going to be Vin Baker? Who's going to be the interim? Who's going to be
Darvin Ham coming from the Lakers? Stacks G said fire AG, and who are you? Come back in the chat. Who are you bringing in? That's my question. Who are you bringing in if you fire
Well,
Adrian Griffin today?
and truth be told, you probably would need someone from the inside. Would have to be the interim for the rest of the season.
And
So who
you,
on
yeah,
that staff? What you going with Oppenheimer?
they
Who
don't
you
have
bringing in?
anybody with head coaching experience right now. So yeah, what are
That's
you
what I'm
doing?
saying, right? And so it becomes equally as much of a disaster if you do that, right? Like, so no, you don't fire Adrian Griffin at this point. You
Go ahead.
absolutely go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Finish your
Let's
point.
let Stacks get his point off.
What does Stack said whatever he's trying to convey to the team is not working, not responding, steady, gives up, drives to the basket, has to call transition defense at time at least once. Doesn't every coach do that? Don't we praise freaking Eric Spoelstra for doing that every night, not letting the people get momentum and call the time? They're right. Again, and Stacks, you didn't answer my question. Who are you bringing in? You said fire Adrian Griffin. So that's what we got to do. We got to start holding people accountable. You can't just say stuff. Who are you bringing in? Okay, you fired Adrian Griffin. There's no way you letting Joe Prunty run this team. There's no way.
But to be clear, though, right? And I do want to be clear on this. Like I said this earlier at the beginning of the show, you didn't need Adrian Griffin, did we? This team didn't need Dr. Griffin tonight. They needed a pastor. They needed a preacher. They needed someone to inspire them to just do the little things better. Hit the shots. Get a little bit closer if you can't hit it next time. Attack the basket. They needed someone to basically tell them, be ball players, guys. Be ball players, because they weren't doing that in that first half. Like that's pretty much what that was. Like this, I mean, I can't even put tonight. So, all right. If you want to say, well, look, the team's motivation, attitude, and effort is a coaching issue, fine, right? Fine. That does fall on his shoulders. But if you want to talk about X's and O's, adjustments, and that, I think Adrian Griffin did his job tonight, right? I think he did a great job at that tonight. Not a great job. I think his first half was abysmal, but I think his second half was great. Like I think he did what he needed to do to win this game. The players just didn't execute.
In the second half, I'll agree. Yes, in the second half, he did exactly what he needed to do. South by Southeast had a great comment here. He says they defended well, and it was a 4-point loss to the Rockets, who are 15-6 at home. I wish we'd calm down and get to a place where we can talk about problems without treating the team like it's a play-in exit. Listen, that's a great comment because it's a
comment
great
of the show so far.
Yeah, 100%.
That's comment of the show so far.
The reason they're melting down in LA right now is because they are the 11th. They are 11th in the West. That's why things are melting down. They're talking about Darvin Hamlin's job. This is not the same. We do not have the same problems. We're not in the same place. Michael Ben says they're 25-11. If the Bucks fire a coach with this record, nobody would take the Bucks serious. I agree.
I would agree.
With that. Yeah, no, it is. It's very unserious. Again, that's the other thing. If you had fault, and we got to close the thing out. We're gonna have tons of time to talk about this throughout the next 40-some games. But John, you know, if you had a problem with it, and I don't have a problem with people who thought Adrian Griffin was the wrong hire. I'll be very fair. I have no problem with criticism of Adrian Griffin. If you want to criticize him, I like the criticism to be fair. But I don't have an issue with people who want to or feel the need to criticize Adrian Griffin. My thing is, let's be honest here. If you hired him, you've made the decision to hire the guy, right? You can't at that point hire a rookie head coach and say, hey, you know what, 30 games, this ain't working, we're gonna fire him. And when he's 25-11, like this isn't Frank Reich with the Panthers. Like this ain't Frank Reich. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. You're saying Gar Herb with the Wizards. Right. You know, man, get fired like 40 games into that season in the 2000 season or something like that. Like, no, that's not. I agree. I think there's a difference between criticizing and providing critical analysis, which is one thing I love about our Bucks fans is like, you know, our listeners, especially, and all Bucks fans really do provide a level of analysis that I don't think every fan base has, right? Like, I got to say that, right? Bucks fans are incredibly astute with a lot of the stuff. Now, having said that, though, there's a difference between criticizing someone, making suggestions as to what they're doing wrong, and even pointing out mistakes versus saying, yeah, this person doesn't deserve to be coach anymore. Pull them. Right. And it's completely irrational to look at it at this point when this team is 25-11. Right. Because it's almost like you're basically saying they're 25-11. They're not good enough. They're going to lose. They're first round exit from the playoffs. And they're not going to make it. Right. It's a massive underachievement. They were underwhelming this year. You got to go based off what you see in January. And it's just like, guys, that's not how this thing works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Michael Ben says last year I think the Bucks were 25-13 too. All they need is a different type of role players. They don't need to do huge upgrades. Chris Dunn, Lonnie Walker, ETC. Yeah, Lonnie Walker would be great. Chris Dunn, I'm a little skeptical beginning. If you could do that for like a Pat Connaughton or something like, in some second, I would do that. One order of business we have to address here. D Cole 123. You know what we are? So there's a guy named Dean Chase who's coming in, and he's a Celtics fan, and he says the Bucks suck. So you know what? We're gonna get him out of here. We're gonna get him out. We're gonna boot him out of here. Get out of here. You're in a timeout for 24 hours. Out of here. Yeah, that's what we do to Dean Chase. Get him out of here. So all his messages have been deleted. Thank you, D Cole 123, for getting this guy a technical foul on the play, and you've been ejected from the chat. Let's do a game ball.
Hey, he can still watch, right? Can he still watch?
Hey, I don't know if he can still watch. You can still watch. Whatever you're doing, you on the sideline. I don't care if you watch. You don't have to watch from the showers, big dog. Get him up out of here.
Go join campaign.
Yeah, go join Right, go join campaign. And I thought who's that? Jabari Smith that gave Giannis a little forearm shiver too. The 11 King says, who's currently playing worse, our backup point guard or center? I guess are you talking about our starting center? If I had to say that, I would say it's campaign who's playing worse than Brook, because Brook still gets some quality blocks in. I think the only thing I say on Brook Lopez, I think there's a lot of pressure on him because of the perimeter defense and things not even being funneled towards him in a way that makes sense. And also you guys say I can't criticize Aiden Griffin, I will. The other thing I think that Griff has to think about is I think we hug up on three-point shooters too much, and I think there's a guy on Twitter who's talking about this, and one thing I was like, oh yeah, that was a great idea. We hug up on three-point shooters. There's not as much help. And so if you think about it again, typically we were getting, threes last year and in the Bud era, three balls killed us. And this year, you look at the Indiana game, teams are just attacking us and killing us inside. And some of that reason is because there's not as much collapsing inside the paint versus where, number one, guys are getting blown by, which is not Griffin's fault. We're just not as good with Dame Malik Beasley up there. But then they're hugging, but Giannis is hugging his guy, and whoever else in the game is hugging their guy because we're not going to give these three-point shots. And now it's almost just like a parade to the basket coming to Brook Lopez, and Brooks got to try to defend these shots. And again, I do think he's a little bit slower and not as good as he was in years past, and just all those things kind of add up, for Brooks. So I do think he just has a lot of pressure on him. So if I had to pick, I would say Campaign is playing worse than Brook Lopez.
Oh, I 100% would agree with that. Look, I'm so done with Campaign. Let's get that man out of here. What can we get for Campaign? Can we get anything for Campaign?
Probably not. And he started off shooting the ball so well. I think he's still shooting the ball well through the season, but it has not looked good for Mr. Campaign. Stacks
listen, I'm damn near ready to say, hey, I heard John Wall got some spare time. Where's John Wall?
Man, I'm not ready to say that. Stacks G says, I hope y'all are right, boss, but this week against high-caliber playoff contending teams is very telling to me. Well, like I said, I don't think Houston's a high-caliber playoff team. I think you're talking about the schedule coming up, and we, like I said, we'll get to it. But we can start there and kind of talk about it, because it is going to be one hell of a schedule that the Bucks are coming in on. So the Bucks do have the Jazz on Monday night. We'll be off Monday night. Because national championship, so I think everybody enjoy watching the national championship along with the Jazz Bucks. But then you have, it's an interesting, I don't want to call it a gauntlet, but it's Celtics, Warriors, Kings, Cavs. That's going to be a stretch where you've got and again, the Warriors are not playing great. Saturday night, there's a good chance that could be the first game Draymond Green comes back. That could definitely be a chance that Draymond Green comes back in that game. But the Celtics is going to be a big one. Warriors are going to be there. Kings have and again, they're not playing as well as they did last year, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this stretch that comes up for the Bucks.
Yeah, this is going to be an intense week, right? I got Thursday circled. Listen, I want to see what time it is on Thursday, January 11th. Here we go. It's another chance to match up against Boston, right? Now again, this is not our super. This is not our.
It's gonna be a lot of people's Super Bowl. January 11th is gonna be a lot of people's Super Bowls, John.
Yeah, it's not our Super Bowl, guys. If we win by 20, great. If we lose by 20, not the end of the world, right? Again, we just want this dub over the Celtics, but that's something that you do want to see this team match up. And if anything, you want to see this team come out and compete. I want to see guys coming out and competing against it. I 100% do. Remember, Draymond Green got a little scared the last time he was in the Fiserv Forum, talking about somebody was giving him a pass, and Draymond was in his feelings over that, right? So, welcome back, sir.
Well, I don't know. It was announced, and we'll talk about it on our wrap up on our look ahead.
He comes back.
But yeah, we'll get to that in 1 second. Draymond Green thing. Game ball. You know, we as we hasten to a close here. Game ball. I think we said we're both giving it to Giannis, right?
100%. You have to.
Giannis. Yeah, even in a loss. Even in a loss, I think, you got to give it to Giannis. 48-17, 2 assists, 16 and 25 from the field. Phenomenal game from Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, yeah, he's obviously 100% going to get the game ball. Let's take a quick look around the league and see what happened tonight. Any interesting scores? Bucks lose 112-108. Knicks win 121-105 with the Wizards. The Celtics beat the Pacers. The Pacers team, again, they're 20-15. But, you know, they clearly put all their eggs in in-season tournament and beating the Bucks, and now you're losing to Boston. So hold your horses there, Tyrese Halliburton. The Jazz beat the 76ers. Again, it's going to be a tough. The Jazz are 17-20, not going to be any pushovers. You got to go beat them. But again, it's a game where Joel Embiid did not play. So that was the end of the schedule tonight. I did want to talk for a second about Draymond Green. Again, he could potentially. So it was announced tonight, or yet today, the league announced that Draymond Green had been reinstated, and I believe the Wizards. I believe the Golden State Warriors said that he would need about a week to get into game shape. So again, today is January it was the 6th when that was announced. So that was Saturday. The 6th. It's in the East Coast where it's the 7th over here. But that would put him on track to play the 13th against the Milwaukee Bucks that Saturday, a road game against the Bucks. My only question, because again, this show has gone on. That's probably our longest show of the year.
We got a lot to say.
I know we got a lot to say tonight. But I do want to ask you before we get out of here, John. So he's a repeat offender. He's had all these things happen to him. They're playing the Bucks, and again, especially if it comes out on a Saturday night. What do you think? If the league is clearly going to be watching him to the point where this is going to be it's probably like a 13-game suspension or so that it's going to be out for 13 or so games. That's a pretty lengthy time to be off, and you're now on the list where people are watching you. Let's say he comes in for him and Bobby Portis get into it. Andre Jackson Jr. has shown a propensity that he ain't backing down from nobody either. Like, is Draymond Green, is he going to just walk? Like, if a confrontation happens on the floor, is he just going to walk away? Because if you get into it with anybody for anything at all, it's almost like the John Morant thing. Like, if you come back, all right, we're going to let you back. You come back, and the first thing you do is get into some altercation. Don't I have to suspend you again? How does that work? Like, what is the leash going to be for Draymond Green? And I'm just very interested for a guy who makes a living off playing hard-nosed defense, who is not as skilled as a lot of the other players. He's just more hard-nosed and tough, and that his game is based on toughness. His game is based on being tough and and talking. How do you play that way when you've just been suspended and the league is finally stepping in and saying, "Hey, we don't want to see none of this no more"? How do you even play? I'm just curious as to what the protocol is for him. Is he able to? Yeah, because again, everybody, something go down. You can get in there and mix it up with it. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Like, I don't think he'll be allowed to do it. I think there's going to be some repercussions if he does that. So I just wonder, Saturday night against the Bucks, it's going to be interesting to see kind of, if somebody tries him, if somebody gives him a hard foul, somebody runs up on him. Kyle says the Bucks don't have anybody. Here we go. Kyle said, let a naysayer know.
Here we go. Listen, man, man, look at what Jalen Murrow started. Man. I mean, listen, exactly. Hey, that's the brand. Lank, right? We letting all. No, but I think that I think Draymond Green, you're in a tough spot now because your brand is, you literally have to pivot from what your brand is and has been at this point.
Yeah.
And everybody has a set of eyes on you, and at some point you're going to stop getting chances, right? At some point, I think if something else happens, there's going to be an even lengthier suspension, right? And you may not play the rest of the season. I mean, who knows, right? Because at this point, you have if you look at it in the aggregate, you have numerous instances of these dirty plays from him, and you keep seeing it. And it's clear that if you do something else now, you did not learn from the last time.
Right.
I mean, he didn't learn from the time before that either. Let's be
Right.
honest here. I mean, and personally, I don't think there was any thinking or anything that was needed. I thought that was a joke. I think the issue is the management of Draymond. You let him act this way without consequences, internally and externally. That's the issue, right? The issue is that man don't need to go. He don't need to go find God because he act like this. He's a dirty player. He know what he's doing, right? He know what he's doing. He can go to church. Right? Like, speaking of which, man, I sure hope these Bucks players are in church tomorrow morning. All y'all need to go.
They
Go ahead and get that
they
inspiration,
need it.
right? You end up
They,
being that
they ain't
pulpit.
living right. They ain't living
Get
right.
get out of lucid. Okay, get out of lucid. What my man Justin say? Boys is standing up on couches in the club. Get out of lucid or whatever y'all going downtown and go to church tomorrow morning. Get your minds right, get your bodies right, get your soul right, and let's see if we can attack this. Right, let's see if we can attack this next week. Right, and you can take Dr. Griffin there with you because he can't do it all.
Yep, no, 100%. Listen, man, I'm with you there, 100%. I think it's a big week for the Milwaukee Bucks, Jazz, Celtics, Warriors, Kings, and then like I said, if you can go through that, you should beat the Jazz. So I'm really not even counting that. If you could go 3-1 through that stretch right there, through that 4. Give me 3-1 through that stretch, and then listen, you got Cavs, Pistons, Cavs. Like you have it gets real nice for you if you can take care of business through that 4-game stretch. It's really not that bad. So we'll see if the Bucks are able to do that. John Tyus, I give you any final thoughts as we wrap this thing up on a Bucks on a fun Cream City crossover tonight. Bucks losing 112-108.
Ugly night, right? Ugly night, but we hey, it's gonna happen sometimes, right? We told y'all for a long time we take the gritty with the pretty, right? And tonight, we ain't get a win, so we got nothing. Our takeaways have been what they've always been, but I think at this point, right, we're 25-11 at this point, and we got 46 games left. So the sky is not falling. I say this, I know I sound like a broken record, but I think at this point, let's look ahead to the next week. Let's see how the Bucks respond. They've had a terrible week this week. Let's look forward to a strong week next week. And again, the roster right now is not going to be the roster in the future. Just remember that. And that's not a ceiling is the roof type statement. Yeah. I'm serious there, right? Like the roster today is not going to be the roster in March. So, man. Also, I believe Jay Crowder should be returning within the next couple of weeks as well.
Yep, he absolutely should. So that'll be definitely a big thing for him. I believe he started 5-5 court activity. So that'll be big for Milwaukee Bucks to get him back. We'll see when the first trades come. A predictor I do think it's going to be a very, very heavy trade deadline. I think it's gonna be a lot of moves. It seems like a lot of teams are selling and buying, and I don't know if there'll be a blockbuster move that gets made or quote unquote blockbuster move that gets made in the NBA. But I think a lot of people are gonna be willing and dealing, trying to shore up their basketball teams. Stacks G does mention that the Bucks always struggle in Utah. That has been traditionally true. But again, we'll see kind of what happens. Utah has the ugliest jerseys. Yeah, they're just so plain and boring in the entire association. But again, tonight is 112. Go ahead.
We playing blackjack right now, and we got a 14. You know what that means? You got
to hit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where we at this point. Hey, we got a hit.
Yeah.
We got a hit. You got 14.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, you got to hit. You got to keep rolling. And again, I think the Bucks are okay. I think they're going to absolutely do that. And so I feel very confident in John Horst. I feel confident in Adrian Griffin. I feel confident. And a lot of the show tonight, we've been on John Tyson. We've been on for 82 minutes. We've done a lot of talk. I know we've been doing a lot of talk about Damian Lillard. I have full confidence in Damian Lillard. I'll tell you again. I really do. I'm talking a lot of trash about him, but I have a lot of confidence in Damian Lillard. I think he'll get it together sometime, around March. Hopefully earlier, but I think it'll be around March or whenever it is. I trust Damian Lillard because I've seen a lot of guys in Milwaukee that have played very well through this time of the season, and then you get down to April and May, and they don't show up. I'm looking at Javon Carter. I'm looking at Drew Holiday. I'm looking at a lot of the guys that I've seen play like they can play, and then when it comes down to it, they don't. So a 112-108 loss to the Houston Rockets. We are off Monday night to let you guys and everybody enjoy the national championship between Washington and Michigan. Who you got real quick before we get? Who you got? Washington, Michigan.
Man, I want to go with the Washington Huskies, but I think Michigan. I mean, I want to go with the Washington Huskies. The problem is Washington defense. Last time I checked, is like 118th in the country. It gets the pass. Uh, the way Michigan runs that offensive line, they can churn and burn on you and run out the clock, kind of beat you up a little bit. I don't know, man. I mean, I want to say Washington, but if it was my money's on the line, I might have to go with Michigan.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see Michael Penix Jr. do it, and I think that's a better, cooler story for me. But I know the Jim Harbaugh thing is pretty interesting too. So I do think Michigan is going to get that win and finish things out. Bucks lose it tonight, 112-108 to the Houston Rockets. We appreciate everybody for joining us tonight, locking in, rocking with us. That was a fun show. 84 minutes long, fun show for us tonight.
Mm.
Cream City crossover. Don't forget, this program has been brought to you by Cream City Media Group. It was fun. 112-108 from the Cream City crossover from the Guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Hey, don't take no wood nickels.